This meeting is being recorded.
Rinpoche said Dashi Delek to all the Sangha on the live stream.
Okay, opening prayer book. One times English. One times Tibet, two times English. This is Garchen Institute prayer book. Dala Damar Jubar Zeba Dam Je So Zebe Manang Kadan Yambe Semje Dan Deva Dan De Donga Dan Tra Nirde Lana Me Ba Yanda Ba So Be San Rambo Je Do Bo Sa. Two times English.
All mothers, sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. All mothers, sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. For that purpose, until I attain Buddhahood, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. Until death, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. From today until this time tomorrow, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. May all mothers, sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. An infinite array of worlds, each with 4 continents and the wealth of infinite oceans of realms. If I bring them all to mind and offer them without exception, please hold with compassion all the beings they contain. My body, enjoyments, and whatever I own, my aggregates, elements, and sense sources, my aspirations now and in times to come, as well as everything I grasp as mine, by offering them all, may I be blessed with the end of self-grasping. Completely liberated from the bounds of real and unreal, transcending the names and concepts of arising, cessation, and abiding, coming and going, affirmation and denial. The supreme mandala is the natural state. By offering it, may I be blessed to attain the state of Buddhahood. Namo, to the Guru, the utter purity of all appearance and existence. I offer all appearance and existence arisen as the primordial ground. I supplicate you, may the 3 realms be completely liberated. Please grant blessings to empty samsara from its depths. Lord, with 5 omniscient wisdoms, crown ornament, kind one with loving nature, precious protector of beings, heart of all Buddhas, inexpressible by words or thought, I supplicate you from the core of my mind. Bless me from within the state of Dharmata. Bless me to realize this mind, primordially pure and unborn, as the unfathomable Dharmakaya. to the wheel of the Dharma of the greater and lesser vehicles. And teachings common to both according to the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
So, Dhamma friends, today I'm going to give an introduction to the what is called the Kunchok Chidu, which means the embodiment of the precious ones. And so there are many different ritual texts, sadhanas, and so this sadhana only has the name, the embodiment of the precious ones. And it is a practice that is widely spread throughout Tibet. It's a very a common, a popular practice. For example, in the Kham region, anyone, whether they belong to the Nyingma or Kagyu, Gelugpa, and so on traditions, practices this. So there's a lot of people who engage in this practice. So it is a dharma, a teaching that is really widely spread.
Garchen Rinpoche chayati then Garchen Rinpoche ke then Untitled Chapter February then Drikung Jilan Jasung February Karma Jula Karma February then Drikung Jula Rinpoche February then get up or then Jasung so Yarmo Stella Soba then Untitled Chapter February Tichuka then Aranchuka then Drikung Jula that's all Sado Jesa Tela Soba 좀 딱하지를 때통은 한 망보요리 옛날에 때통이 kakam 말이 마사니지 레버상하게 봐서 내리처럼 마사만데 자가는 챙겨들이 까래 주바리 등만용만 거를 못지 몰라 팹네 드니 대통령도 삼냠스랑 드니저기 드니 드니 텔베네 텔마 사람만 아버지도 진짜 텔마지 까터 송제리 플라치바를 도탑치바요리 제라 드리 도탑람라 탑만가와메 바테서 드니 때에는 드니 때통 자손 부추가리 또든 도박가 주게 되니 냠니 조난 그죠래 드리처럼 고쳐져 되시바데 동대레
And so for the origins of this practice, so in each of the different lineages, different Dertuns that have appeared. And so the lineage is really a union of the Gamma and the Dharma. And for example, the Gamma is, or like also the oral transmission in general is related to the new tantric system, and then the Dharma tradition to the old tantric system. But then also this is kind of a union of both of them, of the Gamma and the Dharma. And then from Guru Rinpoche's lineage, actually different Dertuns or treasure discoverers have appeared. For instance, this particular Dharma was revealed by the Drukpa Kagyu Dertun Chatsu Ningbo. And then there were other Dertuns that appeared, for example, in the Karma Kagyu, there was Karma Lingpa, or in the Drikung Kagyu, there was Rinchen Puntok, and in the Geluk, there was Dertun Sogyar Rinpoche, and so on. There was Ösardolche in the also Kagyu lineage. So there are many different Dertuns, or Nyingma lineage, yeah. There's many different Dertuns in the old and the new tantric systems. And they all the dharmas that they have discovered all belongs to the resultant vehicle of the secret mantra. The new tantric system is derived from an oral tradition of the transmission of teachings. And so the old tantric system, the Nyingma, was disseminated by Guru Rinpoche when he visited Tibet. And at the time he was alive, he actually composed many different practices, sadhanas, which then later were hidden as dharmas. And then, so in order for the blessings to not decline, in order to be later found by the Dertuns. So in any case, this is a union of the Gamma and the Dharma. And in general, there is no difference between the deity. There might be a slight difference in the different sadhanas, in the method, because it is said the secret mantra is rich in skillful means, in methods, but requires the least difficulty. So in any case, this dharma belongs or was found by the Dertun Chatsing Ningbo, who was a Drupa Kagyu master. So that's why also the Gunchuk Chitu, or the embodiment of the precious ones, is a practice that is principally practiced also in the Drupa Kagyu lineage.
then Rodung Cheva Thong Kang Legina, the Mang Yang, Drop Jigli, the Lamadra and Guru Rinpoche, Artist of Tamang is good. Lama Rangutri, Goston took you in Channel to Bass on the flight of them, Lama, Yontin on Channel to Bacha, the Yore, the Venatin, the Tun Jason Yumbo, Hongi, the Tella Tuni, the Niti Rang Konganiki, Rochuk Latini, that's to the Salamatang, the Drabanang, the Niti Gini, the Nitaton, the Dirty, the Mata, the Tatun Drapnango Yore. Drum the Teddy Drum, the three done double like Chab, Hajam Tatum, Rodon Chimbo Chakete. There's no longer lost to some Nang, three digitally, that's the Chaburi. The way that Slad, I said, Drumna, the Bacha, Tonte, these are how concretely that I chapter Tonte.
So, sorry, I have to move closer. So this Guruchitu is a practice, sadhana, that has brought about a great benefit to beings. And so generally, when a dharma is being found, there's many different dharmas, then the Dertana's practices must first practice the dharma. And so this is this particular practice is a guru practice, a practice of Guru Rinpoche. And there's generally many, even there's many guru practices of Guru Rinpoche. And so, in generally speaking, though, we practice the guru's body, speech, mind, activities, and qualities. So then the activities are mainly accomplished through practicing the Guru's activities and qualities. And so in any case, this practice was discovered by the Derten Chögyam Nyingpo, who practiced it for 13 years. And for those 13 years, after he had found the Dharma and then practiced it, he did actually not reveal these Dharma teachings to others. He practiced them first. And this is actually how it is done traditionally. When a Derten finds a Dharma, then first he must practice that Dharma before revealing it to others. And so first he practiced these teachings for 13 years, and then he made it widely available, and then it really became widely spread throughout the world and really accomplished a great benefit of sentient beings. So in general, this is actually also the case that the more one practices a deity, the greater is also the power of that teaching. So this is a Dharma teaching, a Dharma that is widely spread in the world.
단 니지 거에서 이사사 말이죠. 대라고 삼도 대사할 말이 나랑이랑 맞대라고 저 보통의 차용. 되니까 딱 독립되는 거를 독립되라. 레랭 독립당. 되는 뭔들 독립니 요래. 독립만 보여래. 독립만 보여지. 나도 독립니야 요래. 독립니야네 진제장 적대요. 오. 그걸 보지 공간 잡으려더니 독립 드라마로 동사선 때를 배우지. 근데 뒤는 독립 된 양설랑라. 근데 독립 탐색이 니본 대인성. 양 네 모터 독립이 신이나 대성도. 야, 다 독립 탐색 잡은 대인사래지. 가서 수립된 사례에서. 근데 대사 독립 양나. 좋아서. 대사 독립 양실이는 적서. 양 대로 적성도. 다 그러고부터 가려서 거래. 가리는 애들이 다 만드는 데서 그걸 보지 태통책 사서 이 철사부터 말이 나 저밤부터 들럭도 되지 철기 양설랑에 도덕도 자선 요나야 되니 도덕적 양설랑나 들이 도덕 탐지한데 끊지 않는데 니 코나오 송 그걸 보지 대서 말이면 소심 막으려면 그걸 보지 책을 되는 놓쳐줘 말이야. 대는 이제 탐색에 대해서 공초 제주잖아요. 단디 냠리 가르치는 공초는 누구요? 상대들이 냠을 읽고요. 땡이 저듯이요. 대회는 드리다 다디 뭐로 그 포텐지를 보지 뭐로 지금 있나. 잠도티 요래디 잠도티는 다들 공초디 라마 예단 가로 사지 교단 견디 다고 봐줘 상마되고 뭐랑지 토지 대상전은 다독들이 선택을 한 게 내려도 올라더니 최근 내려 코나도 올라더니 대라들이 샤른자 소유제들 우리 탑탑지 대를 많이 돼 디자인이 레이저들이 주거 로고 주거서 안정 들이 주거값을 야와통지 실용도 적성들이 고조제들이 좋탈 것들이 조도원을 체크해 줘버려 요래 대전 가래 야와 탐지 실용도 적성을 얘도 이 시리나 이 시세 받을 가려는 거 세고 내로 사자집도 돈도서 다이 시를 된 이 마도는 셉지 탐지 센사지 가려 셉지 탐지 센데더니 단지 요리 이디 요리 남시 차려 지금 남시라고 해 나진지 여보감네 남시를 다들 쩍쩍하고 말 들랑 소소리 노르도 레 타데리 등네 타데리 대독 소소리 이 시대는 이 시대가 되는 콘데이가 찹대 이 시동대 하고서는 오 콘데이가들이 찹들이 하고 동시에들이 다 탐색 싸와 되고 우리 토도도 되니 야가탑지 싫은데 จึง되니 준이도 자룩 뭐야인데 준이랑은 원래 자룩 뭐냐 탐크에 간들 소출 것도 막 투지주 연결 삼살로 송거래 들이 대회들이甚至 몇번 남반 나서라들이 주봉지에 제동 이시와다 조다 탑 상매바甚至 상당량 베테소마데 타톨 제베데 제가 톡고 제가 가는 타톨 내록도 오고 요래 Then come see them with him, young person. May look down a twak on a mason. In the look the career, I'm a 7-day look. 7-day look the 17th of the year is Haji in Subaticari. Rank send the Sama Shadi, send the Nero need the house, send Sama Santa the house on Saji. The other harm send the new one to the Chatham Tower, that I need you. Marpa, Telazo Marpa, the Chat, no one to the Chatham Chade, the Dagi in the little water of so child. Same time the charity, Saji Cossom Mission, Chuka the long cha charm. 다 마다니가 냠듯을 듣고지 코아 마다바 찌뿌찌 차마마다 바사와리요 말이 코센지 탐제 세카데 디스트릭트 보요 연대더니 우저 로버트 메드에서 토마토에서 사제 무슨 데이터 하고는 탑탑제 탑소 동들어는 죽어도고 우리 이때 왜랬더니 데이터 싸면 냠설랑더니 가래나 저게 고조 좀 누구도 없어 그래서 봤지 당문도 사바지 담비단들이 싸워 기모이 내마다 봤던 거 요래 되는 거 같아요. 데이터는 되고 말이야.
So there's somebody who hasn't really studied and learned a lot might think like this way. So at the end of sadhana, it often expresses the great qualities of the sadhana, and it says something like that this is the most profound dharma, the most profound practice of all. There's nothing more profound than this one, and the others are not that profound, and so on. And so then if one doesn't really understand, then one may misunderstand that. So actually that happened to myself when I was young too. So we did this practice, the mind accomplishment of Guru Rinpoche, and there are different cycles of Dharma, like Ratna Lingpa and the Bongdrol Dharma teaching, and so on. And there's the Dersa teachings. And so basically, mainly I practice 2 mind accomplishments. And so when I practiced the first one, at the end, it said that, and Guru Rinpoche himself actually said that there are 3,000 different mind practices of the Guru, but this is the most profound of all of them. If you only practice this, that is the heart essence of them all. This is the most profound. And then later, when I practiced the Bogdrul mind accomplishment, it said something very similar in there as well. It said that this is the king of all the mind accomplishments. There's nothing more profound than this. And then also when I practiced the mind accomplishment of the Dersa, then again it said something similar. And so then I started to really doubt Guru Rinpoche a little bit. I thought that what is he saying? He's saying every single one is the most profound, so which one is it? So I was thinking that way, but actually then I was thinking about that more carefully, and I found that this is really my mistaken way of thinking, because it is said that what is more important than the practice itself is how you engage in practice, the way you do the practice. And so whatever practice one engages in, if one engages in the practice in an authentic way, then this particular mind accomplishment is then actually the quintessence, the heart essence of them all. And so this is really what Guru Rinpoche was saying, and it's just that I didn't understand it initially, but of course Guru Rinpoche's words are unmistaken. So this is a practice of the embodiment of the precious one, so the Gunchung Chidum. And like with any other practice, actually, if you practice it properly, it is the essence, you're practicing the essence of the 3 jewels. So the precious ones you're referring to, the 3 jewels, and also the 3 roots, the places of refuge. And I always mention that whatever you practice is the essence of everything. For example, also nowadays, Khenpo Tenzin Rinpoche is giving teachings on the refuge in the Ngundro teachings, and you're learning about the 3 jewels, the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha, and the 3 roots. There's this prayer where you take refuge in the 3 roots, the 3 jewels, the Lama, Yidam, Dakini, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and the Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya, which all are interrelated. So it's all actually connected. Just like when you realize the nature of the mind, it is just like rainbows emerging. All appearance is like rainbows emerging from a crystal. So when you realize the mind, this is how all the sadhanas are seen. They all really come from the same essence. So for example, in the context of the refuge, when we take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, on the ultimate level, we are taking refuge in Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya. And regarding the Dharmakaya, its essence is explained in a verse that is also found at the end of the Gunchakchuti Sadhana, the ritual, where it says, all the victorious ones are one within the vast expanse of primordial wisdom. And these are very important words. So what is this primordial wisdom, this vast expanse of primordial wisdom? When you realize Mahamudra, you realize the natural state, then that is what is called primordial wisdom. And all beings actually already possess this mind. That is why it is said all sentient beings are actually Buddhas. It is just that temporarily, because they grasp at a self, that they perceive a duality. And this consciousness is called, this dualistic consciousness, or mind is what we call a consciousness. We call it a consciousness when it sees a dualistic existence of self and other. So that is when we don't recognize that we are actually non-dual. And then from that perspective, we experience our own individual karmic results of happiness and suffering in samsara. When you realize the nature of the mind, then it is called primordial wisdom. And primordial wisdom is non-dual, and it pervades samsara and nirvana, everything. Everything is pervaded by it on the ultimate level. That is really the essence of all mind accomplishments of the Guru. And so in any case, all within the expanse of primordial wisdom, all the Buddhas are one. And then it says, though ultimate reality has no attributes, they manifest in various forms through skillful means to tame beings according to their needs. Homage and praise to those who display emanations of great compassion. So these are these 4 lines, this verse, which is also found toward the end of the Gunchakchuti ritual text. And so it says they manifest in various forms through skillful means. That the Buddha taught 84,000 different teachings, and because sentient beings possess a great variety of different wishes and characters. And then in relation to that, to suit those sentient beings, there are also many different sadhanas, and there's different deities, there's peaceful and wrathful deities, and so on. There are as many practices as there are sentient beings, really. And they are all for the sake of realizing the ultimate nature. And the ultimate nature is the nature of your mind. The omniscient Longchen Rabjam had said, there is no higher learning than to realize the natural state of the mind. And so this natural state of the mind is the true nature of the mind that all sentient beings possess, which is why it is said primordially all sentient beings are Buddhas. You become a Buddha when you purify your mind completely. When the mind becomes completely pure and you see your true nature, that is what we call Buddha. And so for as long as you have not seen it, the mind is just like muddy water. Because then the mind becomes muddied due to the dualistic perception of self and others, which is rooted in ignorance. So this is what makes the water become muddy. And then due to dualistic grasping, then it kind of perpetuates the appearances of the 6 realms of samsara. And actually, our true nature, the pure natural state, is always present. And so we say that the 3 kayas of a Buddha are complete within the mind. So first we have the Dharmakaya and the Sambhogakaya, which are the pure aspects of a Buddha. And then Nirmanakaya appears in both pure and impure ways. So actually, even though we call it the impure samsara, samsara is not only impure. It is also partially pure because sentient beings all possess Buddha nature. The Buddha said that all beings are Buddhas, they are only obscured by adventitious stains, and when these stains are removed, they are actual Buddhas. So you should understand this. And this is really the ultimate meaning of all sadhana practice. So if you recognize this, then whatever sadhana practice you engage in, then really any practice becomes a practice which is an embodiment of all the precious ones. Which are the 3 jewels, the sources of refuge, the other sources of refuge. So nowadays, Khenpo is teaching on the Ngundro and also the refuge in the context of Ngundro. So you receive very clear teachings on that, and so therefore we won't go into much detail here today.
왕은 욕라들이 다당 먹고 자치모로 왕도 왕 탐색은 나도 자 대상용 왕을 깔로들이 소시라 요 말이 이 왕은 돈다 니는 딱 초아 탐색은 초안 대는 초아 탐색은 나도 잡는 거를 못 지는 그 송발이 니 생각하게 또 통통 쉐조이 대를 자꾸 저렇게 동다데 차상지는 근데 초아진다 사마지는 지는 누구요 왕 탐색을 쏘다 그래서 송포르송 우리 송포르송을 대가 강시 쇼요지.
And then the section or the text that I want to introduce you to today, I want to teach on us today, actually comes from the empowerment text of tomorrow's empowerment. It's towards the end of this empowerment. There's one section that is extremely precious, and it really actually encapsulates the meaning of the empowerment and of all empowerments. And since it's quite lengthy, and we won't have so much time tomorrow, I thought of introducing you to this particular section today. And it really represents the essence, the inner essence of all the sadhanas, of all the practices. And so today I'm going to introduce you to that. And it's also actually the essence, not just of this one, but all the other sadhanas, rituals as well. And therefore we can say it's like the life force of all sadhanas, of all empowerments. And so it is called the life force Kila, as explained by Guru Rinpoche. So this is what I will share with you today. So this section is in the context of the 4th empowerment, and so it is said that it begins, this life force Kila section begins with, other than Padmasambhava's mind itself, there is nothing else to practice or to meditate upon. So one's own mind is Padmasambhava. And also, note in this text, each line, each clause is separated by a symbol which serves as like a punctuation, but it's a dharma sign. So there's these 2 circles with a line in between them, and that is a sign that this is a Dharma text, and the Dharma texts are all the actual direct words of Guru Rinpoche himself. So this is how it is, like basically in all of these Dharma teachings. So in the Vajrakilaya practice, there's a section, a line that sometimes disciples ask about, where it says oneself is the uncontrived, unfabricated, imperfect form of the deity. So that often is hard to understand, is because sentient beings grasp at a self. So there's this thought of an I, a me. We think that I have to do this and that and so on. But then when you actually look at this I and try to find this me, you find that actually it lacks any concrete, any true existence. It's just a concept in the mind, and you can't really find the I. But it's because you have a body that you think that based on this body is me. And that's actually a big mistake. And this is really what everyone holds to be that self. We are grasping at a self, at an I that does not actually exist. So you need to recognize that your true nature, and within your true nature, there is no such an I within the mind. And when you, for as long as you have not realized this, and you perceive a dualistic existence, the mind is a dualistic consciousness. Once you realize that there is no self and there is no other, the mind becomes primordial awareness. And so when you realize non-duality, that is what we call the realization of Mahamudra. Realizing Mahamudra means means that there is no more perception of a duality. And so we may give that different names. We call that not to realize Mahamudra or Dzogchen and so on, but it is really just the non-dual awareness, the true nature of your mind. So within that expanse, as we said, this expanse of primordial wisdom, all the Buddhas are one. And when you realize it, when you see this awareness, then you realize how your own mind pervades all of samsara and nirvana. And so that is the essence of this life force Kila here. It says that your own mind is Padmasambhava. You recognize that the mind itself, there's nothing else. Padmasambhava is nothing else, nothing other than your own mind. And so then it says, therefore, other than Padmasambhava's mind itself, there is nothing else to practice or meditate upon. His mind is whatever appears. And so whatever appears is Padmasambhava's mind. It's just like rainbows, different rainbows emerging from a crystal. All of the various appearances of samsara and nirvana are all the manifestations of the mind. And so when the mind is in an immature state, sentient beings possess the 5 afflictive emotions within their mind, and on the outer level, their bodies are composed of the 5 elements. And then due to the various karmas that they have created, they appear as the beings in the 6 realms of samsara. And when the mind matures, then these same 5 afflictions ripen and mature into the 5 wisdoms. We say the 5 of body, speech, mind, activities, and qualities of 5 kayas, and come to pervade all the 10 directions. So the various pure lands and pure forms that then manifest belong to the Dharmakaya and the Sambhogakaya, and the Nirmanakaya belongs to the 6 realms of samsara. And so where we have the matured and the immatured Nirmanakaya. So the basis of all of this, the basis of all arising, whatever appears, is the mind of Padmasambhava, is your own mind. And so that is the mind that needs to be realized. When you realize your own mind, you realize that your own mind encompasses everything, samsara and nirvana. Jigten Sumgön therefore also said, I have realized that the Guru's mind, my own mind, and the Buddha's mind are one. When you realize the nature of your own mind, you realize that your mind is one with Guru Rinpoche's mind. And it's not just Guru Rinpoche's mind, but you realize that your mind pervades all of samsara and nirvana. Whoever truly sees the nature of the mind will instantly see that, will instantly understand that. And whoever does not realize the nature of the mind will still perceive a samsaric dualistic existence. So again, Longchen Rabjam had said, there is no higher learning than to realize the nature of the mind. There's nothing else, nothing higher to be accomplished. Also Milarepa said in the context of teaching the 10 paramitas, aside from realizing the natural state of the mind, there is no other perfection of wisdom than that. So it all points just to one thing, that you have to see the nature of the mind. And we may give it many different names, but it is all a way to purify the mind completely and to realize that mind is like space and non-dual. And that realization is what we call the mind, that is the mind of Padmasambhava. That is the mind accomplishment of Padmasambhava. So actually your mind is already indivisible, so the nature is already there, but as long as you don't see that, it's of no use to you. So there still is a dualistic perception of self and other, and so due to that, you grasp at, you cling to the true concrete existence of appearances of this reality, and so therefore the mind has kind of become like an ice block. That is the samsaric state of mind. And so in order to melt this and to realize the true natural state, that is why we engage in the mind accomplishment practice of Padmasambhava.
Rasem rang maga ba song. Loli go da du mi so ma de gem la pe yang parsin to ko na so ni shirak de parad sa ba de sem ge an do so ri sem ge man shirak de parad sa ba sem ge ne ro shin de shirak de parad sa ba re so ni ma la ri ba ge de za we san je mi ni be la ge sem de jin yi de zo sa je sa le za le me de 랑 생은 내록되는데 랑 생디 생은들이 사제 통야 요래데 생은은 사제 너도든 통고 요만이 랑은 바닥에 상수들이 샘 나파다 체매 봐 차를 근데 랑은 어떤네 사제래 샘코로 사제래들이 시계 두고 요래 왜 다른 사제 미니 랑 생디 내록에서 내렸더니 샘 나파 통을 가리서 샘 나파 체매나 죽을 놈도 봐. sen 나파다 다리에서 통나 대답을 되는 뱀들이 사제된 통화리에서 대회는 되니 마가바지 남카데 따보지야요 마 받은 갖고요 말이 타만 내봐 가는 내야 말이 나그 세군지 저 내록되나 따보세는 강리지 서쪽에 싸줘야 말이 받은 가로 저요 말이 셔소를 짜 셔소데 셔소는 갖고요 말이 이성스는 손안 가야요 말이 다고 사지 있고 다시 가서는 가야 나와는 차도로 말고 생고 남칼 계셔 매봐야 되는 가야 요 말이지 나그생 가로야 요 말이지 마가 봐서 람송 랑찰지양 랑송 람송 랑찰지양 람송은 따뜻다 사촉 생고 이제 솔라 동남고 대마 통례를 상제 니지 상리 이 언니 이제 손도 좀 쳤나 这样难的小吃吧米的难小吃吧米的难爸爸今日的难出家忘记到个难加上啥叫这样难说大家说的上周吃的让做的这里大不习惯小话到做各大习惯的到底下我们长没把这里下我们这门到什么样的这上周吃的让我的下我们样的
So then, so mind his mind appears. His mind is whatever appears, a clear display which never stops. Milarepa also taught on the 6 parameters we said before is to realize the mind as itself is to realize the perfection of wisdom. So this is also how it is explained according to the sutra path, that when you realize the nature of the mind, that is called the perfection of wisdom. But also Milarepa said that when you look at the root of your mind, you cannot find, do not seek the Buddha elsewhere. The Buddha cannot be found elsewhere but within your own mind. So look at your own mind, the true nature of your own mind. When you look at your mind, you will see the Buddha within your own mind. You will not see a self. So that is when all dualistic grasping, all fixation is cleared away. Then the experience becomes indivisible from space. And then when you gain this experience of mind being like space, you will develop some trust, knowing that this is really Buddha. This is the Buddha. So that is what Milarepa meant with you cannot find the Buddha elsewhere, but within the natural state, the root of your own mind. So look at your own mind. And then also Milarepa said that when you realize that mind and space are indivisible, then you have actualized the Dharmakaya. So when you see the space-like nature of the mind, then you have seen Buddha. And so here it says in that text, a clear display which never stops, an unceasing display. So space, and then also it says it is self-arisen and self-manifest. So space never ceases to be. The appearances of mind never cease to be. It is unborn. Space doesn't come from anywhere, and it doesn't cease to be. It doesn't go anywhere, and it has no dwelling place. When you look at your mind is just like that. No one can determine where this mind has come from. And mind can never stop to be, never cease to be. Even when you die, the mind does not cease to be. The various appearances of samsara or the Pure Lands and so on will continue to manifest unceasingly. Appearances are endless, are unceasing. And mind is beyond birth and death. So nothing can stop the mind. It will never stop or cease to be. And so then the mind is also self-arisen and self-manifest. And so when you establish a foundation of bodhicitta and thereby see the ultimate truth, then dualistic grasping will be cleared away. And so that is this kind of like purified state. Pure, like the Buddha means Sangye, or enlightenment means Changchup, and Chang means to have purified dualistic grasping, and Chup means then having purified dualistic grasping, you then unify emptiness with compassion. And so then it says, then this union then appears as peaceful Amitayus and noble Avalokiteshvara. He appears as the powerful king of wrath, Hayagriva. His face and hands appear as anything at all. So these are just names, but this union of emptiness and compassion really appears as anything at all, as a natural manifestation of bodhicitta. Bodhicitta naturally manifests as the limitless Pure Lands and Buddha forms, the limitless peaceful and wrathful Buddhas and so forth. So here there are just a few names, but really all these pure appearances are the natural manifestation of bodhicitta.
Lama chuka saje tamyo ngo toma napka tawe tela lama chuka saje tamte tela change yores ti ngo toma te sao sem choke o toma napka tawe ti ramji sare shizo ti ishi tela teli ramji lonka yetang tabe lonka tamje tela shaung yores ni tela teli ta lonka ta pa pa jire de den mengdang song yores 롱도도 먹고 신강 참아 때리 샤고 거다 신강 담치 때리 샤고 요래서
Also now in the Ngundro text in the refuge that Garchen Rinpoche is teaching on, it says there that the essence, the guru, the essence is the guru, the Dharmakaya. The essence, the guru, and the Dharmakaya are the Buddha. The essence refers to the empty essence of mind, which is like space. And so within this essence, this empty essence includes the guru, the Dharmakaya, and the Buddha. And then there is an awareness that recognizes, that knows its empty essence. So there's a clear awareness that my essence is empty. And this clear awareness is the nature. It's called the nature of clarity or clear awareness. So secondly, it says the nature, the Yidam and the Sambhogakaya, they are the Dharma. And then we give the Yidam different names, for example, here referred to as Avalokiteshvara, but these are just names. Actually, all the Sambhogakayas appear from this natural clarity, just like rainbows appearing in the sky.
Longo shibati mentong karede ranji sayo molo ranji longo yadam tabe chude yadam te tak tabe chu po jeche dong de tobo tabe de tabe ranji sabe shi ta chayong yore de ranji sabe shi de ta longju do ko chayong longju zobo ko den kare 샤용용 라그라울 하고 요래 라그 나와라 라그 랑주 별사이 넘는 오 대사때 더 랑게 이게 진리 되는 오라가 사다 라그 셈리인데 배 차이냐나 이 다도 너무 치보지나 너무 치들라 약간만 보이는 너무 싸와지게 오 라그 약간이 이렇게 하고 약간 메토로만 되면 사시바 탐지 요래데 이제들이 이제를 많이 봐 랑그 생고 랑자를 해지 되라 랑그 나와라 랑그 롱주 봐라 되니 롱주 저거서 롱고 탑지 랑지 롱고 애들이 추가 뭐 토목감이 되니 호디 나와 탐지 랑그 나와리스 대다 하고 소리 될 롱고 속에 랑그 나와라 랑그 롱주 배 롱고서 이제 다다 진짜면 다 답되셔 갖고 멘탈도 그래도 로케이션 가는 데 땅에 받더니 디지털이 사용도 요래지.
Then there is the natural clarity, the nature. It corresponds to the Sambhogakaya. And so in that Ngundro text it says that so the Yidam, the nature and the Sambhogakaya comprise the Dharma. And the Dharma consists of 84,000 different Dharma teachings, and they all are a method to realize the nature of the mind, this natural clarity. And the natural clear awareness is the Sambhogakaya. It appears clearly, but when one sees the nature of the mind, one knows that this appearance is the natural manifestation of one's own mind. So it is said that the Sambhogakaya, which is literally the enjoyment body, so the Sambhogakaya enjoys their own self-projections. And when you accomplish the Yidam deity, you recognize that all appearance is the Yidam deity, so that you yourself are the Yidam deity, and everything arises, all appearances arise from it. So, for example, when someone has realized the nature of the mind or the view, it's like being a big tree, and the big tree has many different branches and a root. And the tree knows, when you realize the nature of the mind, you're like a tree that knows that all of these parts of the tree are me. They're not separate from me. I am the branches, and I am the leaves, and I'm the flowers, and I'm the fruit. It's all not separate from the tree. So in this way, the Sambhogakayas kind of perceive all things, appearances, as themselves. They see it all as a reflection of themselves, arising from the expressive power of their own awareness. So that is why the enjoyment body, because they enjoy or kind of interact with their own self-projections. And when one sees the essence of mind, the Dharmakaya, one realizes that all appearances of samsara and nirvana are one's own self-projections. and there's nothing else than that. So therefore, the Sambhogakaya is one who realizes that all appearances are oneself. And then we give them different names like Avalokiteshvara and so on, but these are just like illustrative labels. There's many different peaceful and wrathful deities, and all of them, the infinite Sambhogakayas and the Pure Lands manifest just like rainbows manifesting in the sky, arising out of the expressive power of one's own pure awareness.
The Maga Rangsa Longdu Zoso, Magaba, Rangsardi, Rangsa, Rangadi Sasi, Zinsavi, Yota Sasa Niyo Mari Penaco, Ranjing is sheltering Jata, Jasharuna, Penadi, Nimapona, Jagar Kangori, the Karin Jagar Mambo Yoda, oh, they know Yishana, they Kagar Ni, Kovapaki, Nidi, Nilan, Delta, Nidi, Redo, Chadam, Tarletin, Nega Mammy Bada Charlie, the Madame Dorado, the Nega Lover Triple Charlie, Chardo. There are no more than Simi, Mamma Mashavata, the Troll, Shard, Torre, the Takusikan, Kotachanaji, Shadote, Deki, there is the bottom de Choksuba Tabjetini, Niding is Yakuching, Matoba, there didn't daughter, got some shine, Glory shut the alien, J. Shasha, same currently, enjoying Guyomari, Nick of Lower Bena, Close Sangmadina, did Zabong, Chokers, so much out of that day. Some was a journey to the door to that me songs of the Doro to Satawari, you moved to Madame, the Chokori. Certainly, said the city book around the Jealous Sanjeri, they thought you Ransangami, Tripacoso, Tripacolatri, and continue at the Togori, Tricolatri, Jordina, that is Simmons watching the Sonatini Madapa and Takotasha Dora do now, Shadow so. Madapa Yam do the Tagubori, something Teta was Shalom woman. Tama that Teta Tawan, oh, that is the Jumatavis, Teta Semi Shandori, Jumatavis Semination is also Yatini, Tacoso. They got the new more chatty tomato, Madapa, the May Yogi Pena, Data Vonity, Tonatili, Rangsar Manga, Triple Rangsar, just destined to hunger on Saturday, Yanati, Lower Pachati, Taputin, Dorado, Nakam Tonji, the Jumata, Theatre on Tongue or Easy. Daughter to Trouble Coast and Door is.
So yeah, the empty essence is as in the text, yeah. So the empty essence is the Dharmakaya. The self-illuminating, unimpeded nature is the Sambhogakaya. So the Sambhogakaya is this self-illuminating and a self-illuminating, unimpeded nature. That is, it is not illuminated by something, nor does it illuminate something. It is all there is, and it is self-illuminating, self-luminous. Just like, for example, when the sun is shining on a crystal in a room, then everything is filled with in this like kind of dome-like like the canopy of rainbow lights. Everything is enveloped by it. It's just like that. So everything becomes just like that. Everything is like this canopy of one's own self, rainbow light projections. And when as samsaric sentient beings, we perceive these projections, these rainbow lights, as separate from ourselves in a dualistic way. So because we hold them to be separate, that perception leads to our hopes and fears and attachments and aversions, subtle and coarse thought structures in the mind. So that is for as long as the mind is in an immature, unripened state. So from that perspective, samsara temporarily appears the way it appears due to our fixation to a concrete existence and the ideas about it in our minds. And then it says here, so they are, where is it? So then the unimpeded expressive and power of awareness is the nirmanakaya. And previously it said, like realizing that things are self-liberated in themselves. Everything becomes liberated in itself. So when one who realizes that everything is a self-projection, all the various appearances of samsara and nirvana and the pure lands and so forth, whatever arises is liberated in itself, in the sense that there is no dualistic perception of them. But for someone who has not realized that, they perceive everything in a dualistic way, and so to them, temporarily, the 6 realms of samsara manifest. And even though it manifests, whatever manifests still never actually transcends the nature of the mind. So everything that appears still is nothing else but the expression of one's own mind, appearing in a certain way. But the mind itself, the basis never actually changes. It is just temporarily. It's like you have thrown your clothing onto the ground, so they became dirty, and they need to be washed, they need to be purified. Actually, the lower realms, the 3 lower realms, are like a washing machine, and we need to wash the mind until it becomes completely pure. And then when it becomes completely pure, then finally we will see everything as our self-projection. And so here, then for the Nirmanakaya, it says the unimpeded expressive power of awareness is the Nirmanakaya. And you can say that everything in samsara and nirvana is Nirmanakaya. And Nirmanakaya, as the word itself implies, the emanation form. So it's something that we emanate. It's implying something that is like something that's unreal, so like, it's like a fabrication. So there is a slight grasping there. And due to this grasping, we fabricate the appearance of the 6 realms of samsara. And we think that whatever appears, that's real, that's how it is. And then once we have begin to purify the mind, you begin to see that all of these appearances are illusory by nature. They don't actually exist the way they appear. And also, even the lower realms are seen as illusory. You see that they only appear as a result of the temporary karmic imprints that are created due to afflictive emotions. So temporarily, we experience the manifestations of the lower realms. But ultimately, the mind still possesses Buddha nature, and whatever appears is the expression of this expressive power of awareness, of Buddha nature. And what appears in an impure way is a temporary appearance due to the defiled state of mind, manifesting as samsara. But then one who realizes that, one sees this, that everything that appears is actually the expression of one's own mind, then one will see that although all things appear, they are seen as illusory, as lacking any true existence. And so that is the realization of the Nirmanakaya, and the Nirmanakaya is all of the 6 realms have the nature of the Nirmanakaya.
다다 남도를 비쌀 장성 쪽 같이 버티는 거요리. 쌀 장유 쌀을 버쌀시 바디 가리. 다다 무슨 루마짜디만 염티발람 비짜도서. 라고 짐바디 양접지름 시. 짐바디나 짐바디기 주 유모 마다는 가자 이나 주 세상의 지. 세상의 지나 정말 다들 주 비발람 버티기 단디 자 세상에서 세상 코랑 걸로 쳤다 세상 코랑 걸로 들다는지니 다시나 다들 영집을 뭐 하고 요리 다들 자르를 주를 빠가 자르 고민남 쇼구나 세상티 가성 참이는 변이더니 배 하다 생사고 창 거래 다 주제대로 짤짤 당들이게 세상 멜롱 따로 조성지 다들 다 바꿔 다시 간 차도 요리 말이 저 여직을 마비 내만 코르는 적도 코르인서 코좀 이종을 봐 상로 땅지 다 좋고 다 맞돌이 다 되게 레사는 거 제일 세상은 그래 다 맞돌 다 내가 좋아도 다 세상 게 나와더니 나와라서 왔다 뒤 나와 되게 좋은 거리 대 다고 생각했던 이 성소들을 다 봐도 그래서 레롱당 이 시들롱지 레롱당 시롱지 룩시 뭐 말하잖아요. 이시게 롱지 가리 이시게 롱 사마들 돌토가리 매치 보고 부생스 왔다 왜인서 돌다 가리 님은 가리했잖아 랍상 티들은 다 뺀졌다 저도 짧잖아 홍콩나 초가 가리는 홍대가 초가 떨고 떠서는 딱 떠서 이제 샘이 잘해 마유가 맞았나 다샘 조성지 얘네 윤에 다당 미스라 파로버들 당선데 샬리종지 다지 박차지 당선데 박차들 야요리 파로버 되게 높았다고 뭐저 당선 박차들었더니 다음에 박차 때 빨리 달디데 소사과지송 다송도지 그당 소다 디 박차데 여기 이지 종을 통 데려 다음에 박차를 했지 디 박차지 살 용타랑 파먹고 요리 배라 들지 가지나 들지 다티 매트 통을 나다게 당나고 조서 메나 줄로바 같이 당나야 문제를 찾기 잡으러 도망다고 해서 주 파세가 라말 치라고 파세를 라말도 있나 매트 통을 될 코로나가 말이지 파세 라말도 있나 코로나 그래 나 파세고 그래 거 가라 다시 될 laptop을 빼서 저 마저가 산삼들이 이렇게 짜치 정도들이 돌바들이 사탕들이 오고 그래. 돌소로 때도 음자마메가 차거래. 음자마메를 로를 랑세도 다 안 거요래. 랑세도 싸마대 두고 요래. 음자마는 니네 다다 랑세를 빠차 약지 들이랑 또 로들 속바차 랑도로 랑싸마지 속바차데. 대회를 들이고 짤 장록됐다 하고를 짤 장들이 랑도를 빼자죠. 돌마저랑 그 저들냐미네 때에 배 제말이 배서는 너는 나와 라도 체르들 다다나도 심야 곰자시요래들이 르바케데 뉴모바인데 이 시리에 사바리 니제리 게비게서 하고 그래 그거는 먹게비지서 쇼서는 먹게비랑 저다 내는 게 제서는 다 바도리야 이런 깨끗하게 쇼서를 뒤 돌아돌아 다 레인도래 네 동시 가라서 버티지 용서 바디차려서 깝들이다 남도 texting 뉴모 왕서도 내는 거다 아니 바다 도와주고 제로 요래 깨끗하게 띠까지 깨끗하게 남도 무슨 소리 탈로를 미를 돌마도지 사상들이 혼대니 상상들 돌마도지 상상 세거래 이제도 곰냠이들 다 도고 요래 라는 냠용들은 도고래 이제 말하지 저 곰자실 고바 냠용들 되와 같이 했어 나또 죽었던 말라지 라고 고마면서랑 냠용들 되와 이제 제대 곰자기 어디 저도 냠용들 가리 유용벌 카톡 남톡 따라가 타면서 뺄 락자라는 거 가라 가리를 이제 락자라고 이 치고 빼티다 하던 그 치버리를 때려야지 코스텀을 좀 맞아 롱거도 쪼걸로 돌버들 조서로 그래야지 다 사제식 하면 맞아로 되다 미성선래 상상들이 내 하자 같이 버려야지 일단 남이들 그리고 사실 마가리들 꼭 참아 떨쳐서만 다 참아들이 나시 딱 빠른 자들 때때들이 사용을 요래야지
So, my friends, what's most important here is this line. The unimpeded expressive power of awareness is the Nirmanakaya. So this expressive power, the power of awareness, we need to train the mind in the power of awareness. So we need to enhance the power of our awareness through training. So the basis of your mind is Dharmakaya. So everyone has that as the basis. And then when it comes to the Sambhogakaya, then what determines whether or not the mind becomes liberated is whether or not one can recognize that appearances are they come from the expressive power of one's own awareness. And so then that needs to be trained, the power of one's own awareness, because everything arises from it. So we train awareness through the thoughts and the emotions arising in the mind. So it is this thoughts in the Dzogchen practice. It is called training awareness through thoughts. So thoughts and emotions enhance the power of one's awareness. So what is this power of awareness? For example, in the 7 verses of supplication to Tara for protection, we supplicate to the mother goddess of mindfulness. So your own mindfulness, your mindful presence, that is Tara. So that is, mindfulness is related to the power of awareness. For example, when you become afflicted, for instance, you are angry at a person, then immediately, if you recognize the anger, you will recognize this is my real enemy. The anger is my enemy. So that recognition is the goddess of mindfulness, the Tara of mindfulness. So then you will know not to look at the person that makes you angry, but to look directly instead of at the anger itself. And when you look at the anger itself, and that looking, that seeing is the mother goddess of mindfulness. And that is the power of your awareness. So when the power of your awareness becomes very strong, then no matter what arises in the mind, it arises within this state of a pristine clarity. Mind becomes completely clear, as a sharp clarity. So, for example, when anger arises and you train your awareness, the power of your awareness through the anger arising, then the anger becomes liberated, and what remains is what we call like a mirror-like wisdom. So when the anger goes away and the mind remains pristinely clear, but that is what we call the liberation of the anger. And then what is so-called impure becomes pure. But other than that, what we often do, we actually don't usually do that. What we usually do is that we focus on the object, the outer object of our anger, and we look at their fault. So we think to ourselves like, it's because he did this or that, and it's that fault, and he has this and that fault, and so on. So we think we blame this outer object, and then that shows that we have not liberated the thought or the emotion of anger. And then because of not liberating the emotion, we accumulate karma based on anger. And then as a result of that, temporarily, anger, for example, will manifest as the appearance of the hell realms, or then any other appearance of the 6 realms of samsara. So this is how awareness, how the mind creates all of the perceptions of samsara and also all the pure lands. And after you have died and you go into the bardo, you are either controlled by the karmic winds or by the wisdom winds. When the mind wind, the energy of mind enters into the central channel, that is what we call the wisdom winds. And that is what we call liberation. So that is when the mind has become liberated. And that is when the mind becomes like a blazing fire that can burn away all wood. So that is a sign of liberation. The moment when an afflictive emotion arises, you liberate it in such a way that it becomes completely self-liberated and none of it is left behind. And in order to train in the power of awareness, I always mention the practice of the Hong, to meditate on the Hong on a continuous basis, especially when all kinds of feelings, emotions arise. You liberate them, you shatter them with the Hong. It was continuously sustaining awareness of the Hong. And so then when anger arises, for instance, and you continue to focus on the Hong without looking at the person, for example, and the Hong becomes the anger becomes liberated, then there's no more anger in your mind. Even when you see the person, there's no feeling, no negative feeling. That is when you can say you have liberated the thought. But then if there still is this like lingering feeling of resentment when you see the other person, then you still have not, that's a sign of not yet having liberated the thought. And so then you continue to reinforce the karmic imprints, as it is said in the Samantabhadra prayer. And so in this way, when you get angry and resentful, the karmic imprints grow stronger and thicker. And so you keep thinking about it. Basically, the karmic imprints have to do with you keep thinking about it over and over again. And in the end, it's not really actually harming the other person, but it's really leading to your own ruin. And so therefore, whenever a negative emotion arises in the mind, like when anger arises, and you are able to focus your mind and it becomes liberated, then no matter how negative the situation or the treatment may be, you will still see it just as past karma ripening and just like as an illusion in the mind. So, for example, even if somebody were to come and if it comes to someone killing you, then still you wouldn't get angry. You would recognize that as this is karma and this is illusory. So even if someone would be such an arch enemy and you see them, you would then still be able to say dashidele to them and be friendly. So that is the difference lies in. So this is how you can see the difference between liberating and not liberating the thoughts. And so as you train the power of awareness, you're able to liberate your thoughts in this way. And so liberation of thought means that there's no grasping that remains within the mind. The mind is completely clear. There is nothing, grasping in the mind whatsoever. But when you begin to grasp it, that is when you begin to think, and that is when you kind of put on those layers, this thick layers of karmic imprints, which is just like first you're clean, and then you're making your clothes dirty again, and then you clean it again, and so on, and then they become dirty again. So this is how we just keep training the power of our awareness. And then the key point of training the power of awareness is an ongoing practice, an ongoing experience. Milarepa also said that you have to, when you're practicing, means that you take all the, whatever you encounter in your daily life, you practice with that you take as the path. And this is how really you train the mind in meditation practice. So normally, maybe when we sit in meditation practice, it seems like we can practice, we can meditate, and we do recognize that this is an afflictive emotion, and that this is wisdom, and this is love and compassion, this is virtuous thought, this is a non-virtuous thought. We do know that, and yet, because we do not sustain this ongoing state of practice, because we limit the practice to our formal sessions, then still in our daily lives we follow negative thoughts, and we become controlled by them. And then the problem with that is that this also will then kind of repeat itself in the bardo after you have died. It is just in the bardo, it is said that it is much more instant. It happens much quicker. So in the bardo, it is in an instant you are afflicted. In the moment you are afflicted already, it's like your fate is determined. You already have taken birth in the lower realms. So it moves quite like in a flash of an instant, very quickly in the bardo. At one moment, a negative thought, next moment you already take birth in the 6 realms of samsara. And so that's why, because it moves so fast in the bardo, that is why it is now important to train the power of awareness at this while we are alive. And that we do by recognizing all those thoughts arising within the mind, and to see that what appears is nothing but the projection of one's own mind. Everything in samsara and nirvana is. And so Milarepa also said that the practice has, meditation practice means that it has to become an ongoing experience. So it has to be sustained at all times. And this is how you train the power of your awareness. This is what we mean to practice. It means to practice in basically one's day-to-day life on an ongoing basis. And when you train your awareness on an ongoing basis, your awareness becomes like a skillful tool, and you learn how to use it. So you learn the skill in using that tool to the point where you're completely confident you know how to use that tool. And once you're really confident, then no matter what thought arises, you will be confident in using your ability in using the tool to liberate whatever thought arises. So that's an extremely important point. And this is how you train the power of awareness. And this is what we refer to as becoming liberated into the nature of the 3 kayas. And so here, most importantly, in terms of the nirvana kaya, the unimpeded expressive power of awareness is the nirvana kaya. So when you liberate what arises, then everything becomes a manifestation of the kayas. And if you do not liberate what arises, then all becomes a manifestation of the lower realms of samsara. So this is the training of the power of awareness is really what will determine it's like the crossroads, like the boundary, the crossroads between samsara and nirvana. So what determines which way you go, samsara or nirvana, is the power of your awareness. And so awareness, as it says here, is unborn, self-arisen, and an unimpeded nature. And when you realize its nature, that all is the projection of your own mind, then it is said, then everything that appears and exists will appear to you as an infinite field of purity. Please rest for 20 minutes. Thank you.